All right, guys. Thank you for joining me tonight. My my volume's on. All right. So tonight is was pretty last minute, considering I normally do this shit, like a night before or at least 12 hours before. But thank you for the 5x5, Mr. Landfill, Evolving Media, Little John. Let's go visit. I am Koala. Thank you for the 5x5, Dobie, Sarita, Elaine, Christian, Hudson Valley, Cowboy, Maria, thank you for 5x5, another friend, Jeep Dog, Joseph, Kathy, Water Tiger, Rhonda, Peaceful Prepper, Gary, thank you for the 5x5, Colt, Crow, Patriot, Teddy, Little John, thank you for the 5x5. All right, I think I'm on Rumble. I don't know. This thing is acting weird right now. Nancy, Deanna, Jeremy, thank you for the 5x5. Should be here by now. I should be here by now. Where the hell did that come from? I am here. Whoa. Okay. So on Rumble, I'm about 2 minutes behind. It just popped on. All right. So it looks like I'm all over the place. Very good. Bayou Prepper, thank you for the 5x5. Jeremy, Joseph, Highland, Motto, Gamna, Highlander, William, Lexi, Adam, thank you for the 5x5. Little John says, I see you on YouTube. Sarita says, I see you on Rumble. Roger that. You should probably say, fuck Rumble, it seems to be becoming too much of a hassle. Johnny 308, yeah, I don't know, man. It worked today. It's fine right now. But it was pretty weird. Like, it just took 2 minutes to kick on. So I'm trying to get this under control because in theory, I can grow my audience on Rumble as well, because apparently there are a lot of people who hate YouTube. So there is that, right? All right, American Made, The Watchman, Carol, Eva, thank you for the 5x5. How do you manage everywhere? I don't know how I manage everywhere, but I try. All right. Koala, Adoza, thank you for the chat comments on Rumble. And Prep to Adapt, thank you for the 5x5 on Rumble. Yes, Hudson Valley. Rumble's interface does suck. And you thought, man, that they would... Tim's at it again. You thought, guys, that they would fix the problem, being that everybody is getting tired of YouTube. This would be their moment to shine, and they're dropping the ball. So yes, Rumble is like a moody... Yeah, it absolutely is like a moody housewife. Or a moody girlfriend. You choose. Juby, thank you. Alright, guys. So, what kind of sling bag would you recommend for DSLR and 2 lens? Teddy Roosevelt, you're going to have to ask me that question in another week. I have a bunch of bags sitting inside, still in boxes. But the one that a lot of people do recommend is the Wander the Wander Sling. Just type in Wander Sling, and that bag is sitting inside as well. I heard that's pretty good for DSLRs too. So, again, if you are looking, Jason is circle. All right. So, again, tonight was pretty last minute because I am working tomorrow, and I might be working tomorrow night. So I don't know yet, but just on the off chance that I am. And if I don't, then tomorrow night I got the night off. So I do have the option. So, and tonight I was sort of bored, right? I got some sleep. I felt energetic all day today. I'm pacing the house, wondering if I should do a live stream. And then I get the call, and then I'm like, okay, might as well do it tonight. So here we are. So, yeah, listen, whatever's going on with India and Pakistan, it seems to be getting not worse in the sense that it's going to turn into an all-out third world war, but they're definitely going to... Tim comes back and goes Tim again. I like that. I take that as him again. Whatever, that's pretty funny. This guy doesn't give up. Tim, why don't you go over to Rumble and do that shit there as well? Spread it around a little bit, just a little bit. Tim needs his meds. He needs his meds, but he could still show some love over there. Coco Chief, Chili Chief, Maria Jackson. Thank you for watching me on Rumble. Anyway, guys, so tonight, as I was, looking for something to talk about, I did see. Oh my God, the old dude. Oh my God, I forgot his fucking drawing a blank. Um, but I saw this guy's video on YouTube about the 1 second after movie. And when I saw that, I was like, nah, I sort of like just avoided watching it. And then somebody else brought up that video elsewhere, and I was like, shit. All right, let me fucking talk about it. So I look into it, and someone said the movie was coming out this fall, but it's not coming out this fall. It's in pre-production phase. But it wasn't. It might have been the quartering, but somebody was talking about it. Yeah, pinball as well. But I want to say the quartering. And the quartering, he's not old, but whatever. And with that, they just mentioned it, so I didn't get into the video, but I started looking it up, and the movie is what I think part of the predictive programming. Also, at the same time, they're mentioning the mega quake hitting California. And somebody brought that up about a couple weeks ago, and 5 days ago they released an article stating a mega quake could trigger land drop, spike flood risk along the West Coast, the entire West Coast, not just California. And this came out, actually this article came out today. There was another article that came out about 2 weeks ago, April 30th. So yeah, about 5-6 days ago. Right. So both of those articles coming out talking about the mega quake, and people keep saying, yeah, Jeremy from the quartering. Thank you, Adriano. And people keep saying that California is long due for this mega earthquake. Now, don't get it wrong, guys. If this earthquake does happen, right? If it happens to happen, it should be the one that the entire country, a lot of Canada, Mexico, and even parts of Japan out over there is going to feel this earthquake. This earthquake is going to shift a lot of things, and it's going to be really bad if it happens. Now, again, it can happen tomorrow. It can happen 1,000 years from now. Nonetheless, everybody is there's more talk about it than there was 5 years ago. Now, when I was a kid, after that big earthquake that happened, what year was that? 80-something at the World Series in California. People were talking about how that wasn't it, and that was like the tip of the iceberg kind of deal. One of you guys are going to put the years up there, but I found it to be very interesting. All right, so let's get on with the movie 1 second after. So anyway, 1 second after is currently in pre-production. If I'm not mistaken, they don't even have a cast yet. Though, completely off topic, they just finished doing the movie Voltron. So I think that's pretty interesting. Henry Cavill, he's in it. And there's a couple other actors in it, but he's the only one that's recognizable. I think he's a little too old, but whatever. So the author, William R. Foshensk, his idea of the book, I was just watching an interview, his idea of 1 second after came after he was in the mother of all ice storms back in the 90s. I think it was the early 90s, when he was either a student or getting his doctorate in an Indiana University or something like that. And they called that storm the once in 500 year storm. They were out without power for 3 weeks there. And he said he started seeing people get antsy and people, getting short with one another. So he wrote this book. Pretty much when he wrote this book, right before the book came out, or a little after, I don't know which came first, EMPcommission.org was established when they did their research on how bad an EMP could be. And he gave Newt Gingrich what is that called? When they write their first, it's not exactly the book yet, like the script. He gives them the script for the book, and there's a term for it. I can't remember what the term is. He gives him the script for the book, and Newt Gingrich is crying because of the dog scene. Not the people dying, but the dog scene. So, Sharknado. Now, Voltron. Yeah, I'm a little excited about Voltron, but I'm also a little disappointed to see where this goes. Just as I was disappointed with The Last of Us, the last episode. That bullshit. Rough draft, right. There's another term, not rough draft. It was, I guess it was a rough draft, but there's another term when you give a book, or is that a screenplay? And there's something where you come up with the idea, and it's an idea before it's actually the book or the screenplay. But I forgot what the name of that was. Manuscript, draft. Close, but whatever. Voltron, Master of the Universe. No, it's not. Forget it. Anyway, the Last of Us, the last episode was pretty. The last fucking 10 minutes of the show, the last 10 minutes, they threw it right in the toilet with the most bizarre comment I would ever introduction called a preface. But the last comment was weird. It was fucking bizarre. The girl in the show finds out that her girlfriend, that she just girlfriend, like the scene before, they had sex, and the next scene, the girl she has sex with goes, "Oh, I'm pregnant," and then she goes, Tim won't quit, and then she goes, "Oh, you're pregnant? I'm gonna be a dad." Like, fucking shit, man. I never in my life was so annoyed and wanted to put my fist through the TV set and the wall simultaneously. I'd never seen anything like it. I mean, like, she goes, "Oh, I'm pregnant." And she says that she's pregnant by Josh, the kid, the Asian kid. And then turns around and goes, "Oh, I'm going to be a dad, or we're going to be a family." No, we're not. We are not going to be a family. You're not going to be the dad. I mean, like, that liberal bag of shit at the end was fucking bad. He said, "I quit watching because of the lesbos." Like, listen, I knew they were going to go down that road, but that dad shit, that shit killed the show. I hope people stop watching it, like, after that scene. She's like, "I'm going to be a dad." No, you're not going to be a dad. There's no, and Josh should not be okay with it, period. Nobody in that compound should be okay with that. You are not the dad. Sorry. You're not the stepmother. You're not any of this shit. Maybe if they get married, she could be the stepmother, but then I would still stop watching the show. So, this is called The Last of Us. Trump won. But it was the most bizarre shit. "I'm gonna be a dad." No, you're not. You're still a chick, one. Two, you had nothing to do with that whole sex thing. And then the whore who's pregnant is like, "Yeah, no, bitch." Johnny threw it away. Josh is the Asian kid that the Spanish chick was banging. He's like sort of the lead of town now, or like he's second up or some shit like that. He's the Asian kid. He's the only Asian kid there. You know? Yo, that part fucking really fucking pissed me off. And I was given a heads up of that, and I said, how bad could it be? When they got to that scene, I was like, yo. And then, of course, they're smart because they put "I'm the father" bullshit, and then they hear an attack going on, and now you're just like, what the fuck is happening over there? So you're curious about this bullshit over there. Meanwhile, the dad shit just threw me off, man. I don't know. Let's see how much that show declines after that. But that's fucking, that was like the most dumb shit they could have ever done. And the crazy shit is this woke shit is dying, and they still chose to go that path. Gotta hope it tanks. Hope it tanks. Anyway, so guys, back to the before I went off my fucking rant on that bullshit. We're gonna go over a couple slides in the PDF file that the EMP.org commission released. So, if I'm not mistaken, this slide, I think I'm gonna put the in the description comment. But this is the report of the commission to assess the threat to the United States from an EMP attack. This is volume 1. This was done 21 years ago. This has a bunch of doctors on it. And I'm going to drop this in the chat real quick so you guys can... No, not story. Damn, there's a term for it. It's not story pitch. It's not concept. It's on the tip of my tongue, and in the middle of the night, I'm gonna wake up and I'm gonna drop it in the community board when I think of it. It's like condition or something. It's something weird. It's like another term that they use that they rarely use, but they use. Shit, man. I can't think of it right now. It's driving me crazy. And then you guys are throwing names out there, and you guys are so close. And it's on the tip of my fucking brain right now. I can't think of it right now. But anyway, so I dropped the link, guys, in the chat. That is to the PDF file from the empcommission.org. It's a great download, by the way. Definitely take a look at it. Read it for yourself. There's a lot of good shit in there. We're only going to go over 3 slides that I come across. So first slide is slide 21. And I say slide 21 because it's in PDF file right now. So that would be page 13, but it's slide 21, if I'm not mistaken. That is recognizing an EMP. Electronics upset and failures occur under normal operation circumstances, even in high reliability equipment, such as that supporting critical infrastructures. EMP-induced upsets and failures, however, are different from those encountered in a normal operation of infrastructure system. In fact, have unique aspects not encountered under any other circumstances. EMP produce nearly simultaneous upsets and damages of electronics and other electronic equipment over wide geographic areas, determined by altitude, character, and non-explosive yield of the EMP producing nuclear weapon. Since such upset and damage is not encountered in other circumstances, particularly not remotely to same scale, normal experience of otherwise skilled system operators and others in position of responsibility and authority will not have prepared them to identify what has happened to their systems. What actions to take minimize further adversities what actions to take to minimize further adversity consequences and actions must be carried out to restore the impact as swiftly and as effectively as possible. The system capabilities and operator awareness, planning, training, and testing will require to deal with EMP-induced system impacts. So that's, there's a lot more to that. I'd rather not get into it because it's kind of boring. But they're telling you how you should identify an EMP. Now, I told you the roundabouts of identifying an EMP is when everything goes out simultaneously. Now, your phone depends on where you are in that detonation will dictate whether or not it goes out. Movies are going to say that every electronic goes out, not necessarily true. If your phone is wrapped or has a case around it and it is not plugged in, it will not go out. If your phone is charging at the time of the EMP, it will definitely go out permanently. Your iPad, your computer, if it's connected to the grid, right? If you are charging it or just using it as a power source, or you don't want your battery to run out, you are using it and it's plugged into the wall, it will short circuit. That is a fact. But if your computer is sitting on your lap inside of a building like this, you will be okay. Your computer will be fine. It will probably be rendered useless unless you got a lot of information on it, but you'll be fine. Anything with a large metal base is going to be affected. And the further away you are in the EMP detonation zone will dictate whether or not it gets damaged immediately. That's the other side of that coin, right? So if you are in an iron building like this, you will be fine. I do not know how it would work for a wood building. If you are outside the detonation area, which I think I can pull up a map for, I'll show you in what area your devices will be safe. Don't get zapped out. Yes, I'm talking about the 1 second after movie, but I'm going to get into the movie in a little bit. Again, the synopsis of the movie is just like the book. I don't know what the deviations are going to be. There are always deviations in these movies, always. But I hope it's not too much. The author is in talks and is closely monitoring the movie, right? Like an advisor. So let's just see if they don't go too far outside of the box. Um, I mean, listen. Hopefully, they don't do too many changes, like make the girl white or black and the hero white, or vice versa. I hope they don't do any of that dumb shit. I hope they stay true to form as much as they possibly can. This can turn out to be a movie or a TV series, one or the other. So that's why, like, people keep calling it a movie, but I read somewhere that it could be a series. So especially if they follow the 3 books that are currently out, or is it 4? Is it 3 books or 4? Whatever it is, treatment. That's what it's called. It's called a treatment. Constance, thank you for that. She wrote script, or he wrote script. It's a treatment. That's what it is. A treatment is like the ideal concept of a book or movie, if I'm not mistaken. Interracial, homosexual, transgender relationships. Yes, if they put that in there, the movie's toast. And he's an old school guy, so I don't think he would allow that. But we shall see. All right, so that was the first phase. Second slide is food infrastructure, nature of the problem. EMP can damage or disturb the infrastructure that supplies food to the population of the United States. This is slide 48, page 40, if you are, using your Kindle or some shit like that. All right, so this is the more important one, actually. Nature of the problem. All right, recent federal efforts to better protect food infrastructure from terrorist attack tend to focus on preventing small-scale disruption of food infrastructure, such as would result from terrorists poisoning some food. Yet an EMP attack could potentially disrupt the entire food infrastructure over a large region encompassing many cities for a protracted period of weeks to months. They left out years. Technology has made possible a dramatic revolution in U.S. agricultural productivity. The transformation of the United States from a nation of farmers to a nation where less than 2% of the population is able to feed the other 98% and supply export markets is made possible by technology advancements that since the 1900s have increased productivity of the modern farmer by more than 50-fold. Technology in the form of knowledge machine, modern fertilization, pesticides, high-yield crops, and feeds is the key to this revolution in food production. Much of the technology for the food production, directly or indirectly, depends upon electricity, transportation, and other infrastructures. The distribution system is a choke point in the U.S. food infrastructure. Supermarkets typically carry only enough food to provision the local population for 1 to 3 days. Supermarkets replenish their stock on a daily basis from regional warehouses that usually carry enough food to supply multi-county areas for about 1 month. The large quantity of food is kept in a regional warehouse will do little to alleviate a crisis if cannot be distributed to the population in a timely manner. Distribution depends largely on functioning transportation systems. Now, the one thing that they also left out in here is, well, they don't mention preppers in this at all. So we would be fine for the most part. There was another research done, and they said, quote, this is quoting them, this goes on longer than a year. 80 to 90% of the population is going to be wiped out. Starvation, disease, gang wars, or people just acting badly, crime would skyrocket. There'd be no law and order. People would absolutely fall apart, and that's within a year. So just keep that in mind. The mitigation and responsibilities, I'm not going to get into that because that seems kind of boring. And then they go into water infrastructures. Obviously, a lot of people would also die from dehydration because they wouldn't know what to do, right? That is always a problem in regards to that. Water, especially when you live in a city that doesn't have fresh water, like New York. All right. So, if I'm not mistaken, I think I got this wrong. Yeah, I think I fucked that up. All right. Let's go back to the beginning. Let's see. They talked about restoration and how long it would take, and they said months or years. Now, when they say months or years, guys, they mean years. But that's the part that they keep fucking, they fail to mention. So, here is the rub. This part here. Nuclear plants nuclear plants produce roughly 20% of the nation's generation and have many redundant fail-safe systems that tend to remove them from service whenever any system is upset and sensed. Their safe full shutdown should be assured, but they will be unavailable until the near end of the restoration. So a lot of people seem to think that if an EMP goes off, nuclear power plants are going to just start exploding left and right. Nuclear power plants, and I learned this from the one that they just shut down over here, Indian Point. Nuclear power plants have enough fuel to go into shutdown mode, and a safe shutdown mode. But once they are shut down, to fire them back up would take a few days, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe a week or something crazy like that. But again, they are out of commission once they shut down. And the cooling process begins over the next few years. The cooling down process doesn't take a day or two. It takes a couple of months, if not a couple of years, to cool down a nuclear power plant. So now this is in their report, but the prepper community keeps telling people, especially the fear-mongering channels, that if there's an EMP device, nuclear facilities are going to go off left and right. So I do have Technique 1200s, John. Got me there. I had two of them. I only have one now. But anyway, so just keep that in mind. Keep that in the back of your head. You're not going to glow in the dark if an EMP goes off. Now, should there be a malfunctioning to that cooling process, then, yes, we might start glowing in the dark. But that's on page 21, section C of number 3. Essential, 3, section C. All right, so now let's go to, I think it's 8. Nope, not 8. But this is the EMP scale. It's an illustrative EMP effect, a fast pole. There are 3 components to an EMP detonation, right? The first component is a free yield energy pulse with a rise time measured in the range of a fraction of a billionth to a few billionth of a second. That's phase 1, or component 1, excuse me. It is the electromagnetic shock that disrupts or damages electronic base control system, sensors, communication system, protective system, computers, and similar devices. Its damage or functional disruption occurs essentially simultaneously over a large area as shown in illustration 1. Illustrated figure 2. This is what I have in figure 2. Give me 2 seconds. Well, I can't show you that or this. Anyway, can't show you that right now. All right. Second EMP component, this is called E2. Middle time component covers roughly the same geographical area as the first component, is similar to lightning in this time dispense, but is far more geographical widespread in its character and somewhat lower in amplitude. In general, it would not be an issue for critical infrastructure systems since they have existing protective measures for defense against occasional lightning strikes. The most significant risk of synergistic because E2 component follows a small fraction of a second after the first component's insult, which has the ability to impair or destroy many protective and control features. The energy associated with the second component thus may be allowed to pass into and damage the systems. And third component, E3, the final major component in the EMP, is a subsequent, slower, rising, longer duration pulse that creates disruptive currents in long electricity transmission lines. Lost my place. Okay. Lines and disruption system. All right. The sequence of E1, E2, E3 components of an EMP is important because each cause damage and later damage can increase as a result of the earlier damage. An example depicted in figure 2 and 3, about 70% of total electrical power load of the United States within the region exposed to the EMP event. Now this is I can pull up figure 2. This is the first, if I'm not mistaken, EMP component 1. This is what it looks like. Nope, that's not it. Sorry, don't have it. This is the Ring of Fire. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. I don't have any of the components on here, but it's in the empcommission.org's PDF file. Just look at that, and that's pretty much the nutshell that we're in when an EMP goes off. All right, so now, as far as this goes, we're going to talk about this article talking about the movie. A nuclear EMP moves to the big screen as author reflects Invisible Lifeline. A nuclear electromagnetic pulse strike could cripple the United States, expert warn. Author William R. Foshen's best-selling novel, 1 Second After, which images the devastating effects of an EMP, electromagnetic pulse, strike on the United States, is being adapted into a featured film. The screenplay will be written by renowned sci-fi writer Michael Sarsinski, never heard of him, with William Foshensk himself serving as an executive producer. News Fox Digital spoke with Foshensk about the real-world inspiration behind his work and why he warns an EMP attack is a looming threat, not just a science fiction novel. So anyway, Foshensk was wrapping up his PhD in Purdue, which is in Indiana University, when he began pursuing a novel on the EMP attack in the United States. He said that he was struggling with the novel off the ground and clarity his idea until he had a God moment, and that was the snowstorm that I was talking about, the once in 500-year snowstorm. Now, Foshensk is from Asheville, North Carolina. That's where the book is based in. That is his hometown. The moment inspiration led him back to his hometown near Asheville, North Carolina, where he began the task of writing an accurate, compelling version of the events following the devastating EMP attack on the United States. Foshensk began the process of writing and drew inspiration from key figures in his hometown. I started with interviewing people like crazy, police chief, pharmacists, and I learned how deeply everything depends on the invisible lifeline of electricity. He pointed to the interview in which a local pharmacist who he shared had been left crying after considering what would happen following an EMP strike. I started the interview with people like crazy. I never forget finishing talking with the police chief, and I said, "All right, Jack, what would you do?" And he picked up the phone and he said, "Wait a minute, the phones don't work anymore, do they?" And that's what Foshensk told him, no, they don't. I learned that a pharmacist knows people more than anybody else. So they're the ones giving out the heart medications, the antipsychotics, and she started writing down the long list of people who would be dead within 2 weeks to a month. Wow. 2 to 3 months, excuse me. Interesting. She wrote down a list of people as to where they fall in line with their medications. So those people are off. Now, the antipsychotics, those are always going to be a problem. That is something that's not in anybody's report, but we watch what people who don't take their meds do in the city. People who don't take their meds in the city, guys, they run around the street fucking licking sidewalks and chasing rats and darting in front of cars, right? They're also smoking crack at the same time they're having their psychotic breakdown. Some of these people become violent. Not all of them, but some of them can become violent, and some of them will just be a problem or a hinder in your society. So just keep that in the back of your head when something like this happens and these people can't get their meds. Now, everybody else, people with heart issues, diabetes, those people are undoubtedly going to be screwed. Anybody who's on dialysis, they are going to be dead within a month. And those people are going they're going to experience a horrific way of passing away. Mike, thank you. 4 books. So there are a lot of people who are going to experience horrific passing aways. People who are also on seizure medications, as well as asthma attacks. Asthma attacks you can ward off depending on the severity of the asthma attack. But you can ward that off, or if they have a severe attack, they're done. This presents to be a problem. Anyway, from dozens of interviews, Frashunch crafted his novel Together 1 Second after publishing it back in 2009, remains to be the bestseller. This book is going to skyrocket once the first trailer drops. I think a large percentage of us already read this book. So, a large percent of us reading it, this sale on this book is going to skyrocket. So, this should be very entertaining to watch this develop and watch how many people start jumping over to prepper channels after this. Because I think there's going to be a boost in prepper channels after this movie comes out. So people like, the Canadian fella and the mustache porn-looking dude, they're gonna fucking cash in on this. They're going to cash in on this with the fear tactics. Though, being that a blackout is possible, you can still learn a lot from these books, right? So again, the Ozark Negro, thank you for joining us. Let's see how well or how much scare tactics or fear mongering goes into this shit when this movie finally comes out. EMP is generated from a small nuclear warhead, 40 to 60 kilotons, or about 3 times the size of the Hiroshima bomb. It is detonated 200 miles out in space above the United States. It can also be a lot closer than that. It's set up an electrostatic discharge which cascades on the Earth's surface, feeds into millions of miles of wires which become an antennas. Feed this into the power grid, overloads the grid, and blows it up. Now, the other side of that coin is fires can also be a thing. Depends on where you are in the detonation circle. Fires can also happen. So that's another thing that I don't know why they didn't mention it, but you can have a system be overloaded if you have, what is that called? Solar panels and shit, and you got batteries in your home. That can be overrun or overcharged, and you can have fires out of that. The solar flares cause fires. What was the solar flare? The Carrington event had fires throughout the country at the telegraph stations, right? The junction points where there was nobody in, but those junction points were catching fires all over the country. So now, if you have something like this happen in today's time, you can absolutely have a lot of homes go up in flame because the systems are overrun. Whether that's a solar charging battery station in your home or just your grid, your power box itself just becoming overrun with too much power. In fact, we had an e-car. Well, it wasn't an e-car. It was a Hemi. What the hell? It was a Dodge Hemi. There was a fire in that. Fire started in the engine. As we're putting the fire out, the engine boss goes, could you guys check the trunk? We checked the trunk. We popped the trunk, opened it up, nothing's in the trunk. But we see some smoke, which we thought was residual smoke coming from the front of the car to the back. We popped the trunk, we see a little bit of residual smoke, but nothing in the back, no bodies, anything like that. And we pull up the carpet, and the battery that's in the back is on fire. I never in my life seen that before. So with that, the system in the front was so charged from the heat and the fire that fire started in the rear of the car. So you can have that problem as well. It seems like it's the Wild West in the chat today. I don't want to I don't even want to look. I don't want to bother. But anyway, all that to be said, guys, if there is an EMP, there will be a lot of fires. So have yourself a fire extinguisher in your home in the short case that this happens, or the small case that this happens, excuse me. It's plausible, and a lot of homes are going to burn. That's without a doubt. A lot of homes will absolutely burn if there's an EMP attack. Let's see. Antenna fields. All right. For assurance, citing congressional report from 2002 and 2008, said 80% to 90% of Americans would be dead within a year after an EMP strike happened. The threat of an EMP was first realized during 1962 Starfish high altitude nuclear test. What happens was it blew up 500 miles away from Hawaii and 200 miles up, they said. They were able to bring the system back within a matter of days, but they said, what would it be like if it took a month, 6 months, or a year to 5 years to fix? The late Peter Pry, a nuclear weapons expert and former staff director at the Congressional EMP Commission, agreed before his death in 2022. Pry warned that Kim Jong-un launches of a high-altitude ballistic missile was a test of North Korea's EMP capabilities against the United States. Now, we can see these missiles coming at us, except for a hypersonic missile, though you can't see a hypersonic missile being ready to launch, but you can't intercept it. At least the United States said they could, but whatever. So that's one problem. And then, other than that, guys, here's the rub. EMP launch, EMP attack, EMP aftermath, a lot of people are probably going to die within the first couple of hours of that attack, right? If anybody, a pacemaker might not be affected because it's in the body, in the skin. There is no wire or large metal base. So there's that. But people will initially die in accidents. Cars will probably shut off, depends on where they are. If a car is in a garage underground, it will be safe. You have concrete, rebar, and steel around it, acting as a Faraday cage. Planes might fall out of the sky. If it can't land, it'll fall out of the sky, so you'll have people die that way. Hysteria will set in. People will realize what's going on. Within the first couple of weeks, you're going to have a lot of people passing away. And then by a year, 80 to 90% of that population might be gone. A lot of people will move. It does take more than 3 devices to effectively destroy the United States, not one. One will cause a lot of damage. One will take out a good quarter of the United States, but you need about 3 overlapping, is key, overlapping, to completely put this country in the dark. Now, if it does overlap, some of Canada will be affected, some of Mexico will be affected, a large part of Canada actually will be affected, and a decent amount of Mexico would be affected if you have overlapping 3 detonations at the same time, same height. And you don't even have to do it at the same time. They can go one after the other. One, and then 2 hours later, the second, and then 3 hours later, the third. It's effective enough. You're definitely going to have a problem. The military does have some protective capabilities, but not enough to be effective in any kind of attack that happens after that. There's that to consider. So, have some skills. If you are, if you go with your hands, you're skilled, good. If you have some medical skills, great. If you're a dentist, even better. You're definitely going to be sought after if you're a dentist. If you're a nurse, EMT, or medic, they're going to use you to some capability. If you're a fireman, you're shit out of luck. Other than, fighting fires in a small town, that's probably all you'll be useful for. You better have some real skills if this is ever to happen. If you are in the city, you have to boogie out of here right away. Johnny 308, man, thank you for the update. But yeah. What about the missing USSR suitcase nukes? Why? Those have been missing for years, decades. So, yeah, those could pop up. Somebody told me they found them. But, here was the rub when the person told me that they were found. When he told me they were found, he goes, but the United States is holding on to them for any kind of false flag bullshit. I thought that was interesting that he followed it up with that with a but, and then he said for false flag incident. So, if there is an EMP event, could it be our country setting it off? It could be. Could it be the WEF and the World Economic Forum and their bullshit? It could be. Could the Russian haven't gotten them back? Maybe. And they could be sitting on it, and they're still lost. But I was told that they were found, and but they're being, safeguarded for later use, if you will. Whether that's the United States using it on Russia or China or them using it on us, one or the other. But yeah, I found that to be very interesting. All right. So, guys, let's talk about the monster quake. This should take a little bit. I don't want to go through this whole article. I guess I will. I got 15 minutes or 14 minutes left. The film won't be made in America, and that would suck. Crisco's 6'6", that would suck. An EMP attack can be stopped if it's conventional nuclear weapons. If it's not, then yeah. If it's like the hypersonic missiles, then it won't be stopped. You're right, but it can be stopped. Anyway, monster quake could sink swath of California, dramatically heightening flood risk. Study says. There are so many studies, I'm tired of these things. During an earthquake scenario, the highest level of subsidence or land sink, the area of risk of flooding could expand by 116 square miles. Among the area at risk after a megaquake along the Cascadia subduction zone are the Humboldt Bay region, including the area around Eureka and Arcata. I think I said that right. Wrong. Whatever. And if I'm not mistaken, isn't Eureka and Arcata up north by Oregon and Washington? But whatever. A long-feared monster earthquake off the coast of California, Oregon, and Washington could cause some coastal area to sink by more than 6 feet, dramatically heightening the risk of flooding and radically reshaping the region with little to no warning. Whatever. Those are the findings of a new study examined by repercussions of a massive earthquake in the Cascadian subduction zone, which stretches from North California up to Canada's Vancouver Island. The study, published Monday in the journal Proceeding of the National Academy of Science, concluded that in an earthquake scenario with the highest level of subsidence, or land sink, the area at risk of flooding would expand by 116 square miles, a swath of 2 times the size of San Francisco. Such a scenario would be more than double the flooding exposure of residents, structures, and roads, and officials would need to contend with a future compromised road and bridge, as well as a lifeline and infrastructures that are either more frequently flooded or permanently inundated, the study goes on to say. Now, I don't know, man. There is no way to prepare for this. That's the long short of it. If the land suddenly drops 6 feet, there is no way to prepare for that. What are you gonna do? You got a spare bridge that you're gonna fucking bridge the gap that's created by this land drop, or a ladder that's it doesn't make sense. Transporting people out of there would only be by way of helicopter or plane if you have a large enough area where you can land and take off. But the flooding that comes right behind it would wash that out. There would be no rescuing. Not in the large scale that they're thinking of. Yeah, definitely need hooked on phonics. So some of these words are catching me out there. Anyway, I don't know. I don't understand why they think that they can prepare for this. That it would be permanently inundated. It would be permanently underwater. There would be no way of rescuing people. A 6-foot drop. I don't know what the water height would be, but if the earthquake is big enough, the water would probably be deeper than 6 feet, right? Let's just say let's be nice and say 10 feet of water over the 6-foot drop. That's a lot of water. There's no way in saving these people. Now, currently, more than 8,000 people live in floodplain areas along the Cascadian coastal region. But in the event of a high level of subsidence after an earthquake, the figure would nearly triple to 22,000 people. Nearly 36,000 structures would be threatened by the resulting quake-influenced floodplain, a 168% increase of the current figure of about 13,000 structures that would be threatened. And an additional 777 miles of roadway would be in the new floodplain, nearly tripling the at-risk total of 1,200 miles of road. Again, how do you prepare for this? I don't understand why. Like, I get that they're telling the people of the area, listen, you guys are screwed. If this earthquake happens, you're toast. But there's no preparing for it. There's not enough fucking food and water to prepare for it because it would be rendered useless. It'd be underwater. Helicopter rescues, you're toast. If you have a raft, you might be able to, but then all of the debris that you're contending with, your raft is going to get a flat, right? A flat. It's going to deflate. Then you're going to be in the water. Could you have a life vest on? You could. But then again, you're contending with debris. You could be crushed by debris. There's a lot of people that are not going to survive this. What did they say? 33,000 people? 22,000 people in jeopardy? 22,000 people are going to die. You know, I mean, granted, yes, some people will find their way and crawl up under certain debris and stay up there for as long as they can. But I'm going to venture to say about 22,000 people are fucking toast. Radiocarbon dating suggests that there have been more than 11 great quakes off the coast of California's north coast, Oregon and Washington state over the last 6,000 to 7,000 years, reoccurring every 200 to 800 years. That's a large gap. Gradual climate-driven sea level rise is not the only inundated threat, the study said. Coastal subsidence, from the next great Cascade subduction zone earthquake may produce more than 3 feet of sudden relevant sea level rise sooner than others expected. While discussing a future megaquake on the Cascadian subduction zone, we often hear about the tsunami and the shaking, but there's the level that's going to persist for decades, if not centuries, after the earthquake, the mega earthquake, that is, and just totally alter the floodplains. This is Tina Dura, an assistant professor of geoscience of Virginia Tech. One estimate published by FEMA is that an earthquake magnitude 9 along the full length of the 800-mile fault zone would leave 58,000 people dead from the earthquake. An additional 8,000 would die from the resulting tsunami that could rise as high as 80 feet, and after coastal area as few as 10 minutes of warning. That would estimate $134 billion. Where the fuck did whatever. So, 8,000 people would die because of the tsunami. And 10 minutes of warning. 10 minutes of warning. You can go far in 10 minutes. You could definitely do some damage in 10 minutes. But if you're caught in a traffic jam, you're not going anywhere in 10 minutes. So there is that. In the 1700s, Cascadia megaquake oral history described tsunamis more than 50 feet high, wiping out a coastal village. In the Anacea, a village that was now called Vancouver Island, was one out of more than 600 people survived, according to the... Holy shit. One out of more than 600 people survived. This tsunami was so strong that it uprooted trees. When it finally receded, treetops were found strewn with trash and victim limbs. Ghost forests and rot-resistant trees found in tidal marshes and in the region are evident that the land sank during the quake and drowned the trees. No shit. This was back in the 1700s. That must have been fucking shit. All right. We got 5 minutes. Notable areas at risk of sinking after a megaquake along the Cascadia subduction zone, according to the studies. California's Humboldt Bay region, including the area along the Eureka and Arcata area. In Oregon, Walport and Bayshore along the Alsea Bay, Northport and South Beach along the Youngling Bay, I'm pretty sure I said that wrong, and Gerhardt and Seaside along the Neckarsulm River, and Washington, the Willapa Bay, including the communities of Long Beach, Ocean Park, Takeland, Raymond, and Gray Harbor area, including Ocean Shore, Westport, and Aberdeen. That's in Washington. All right. Whatever the fuck that means. Traditional scientists and government have focused on climate change-driven sea level rises to calculate the projection increased risk of coastal flooding. But the study suggests that the neglecting the role of major earthquake would be short-sighted. All right, these people are they're trying to prepare for something they cannot prepare for. That's what I don't understand. The more I'm reading this, it just doesn't make sense to me. These people are trying to prepare for land to sink 50 to 80 feet tsunami with 10 minutes of warning. There's no way you can prepare people for that. The only way you can prepare people for that is by way of moving them out of the affected areas. That's the only way. Outside of that, you're not going to have many survivors. I don't think so. No, you won't. You won't have many survivors. Forget, I don't think so. A magnitude 9.2 earthquake in Alaska back in 1964 were more than 6 feet along the coast, rendering roads, docks, and water areas inhabitable. And a 9.5 earthquake in Chile back in 1960 caused an 8 feet of coast, permanently submerging the coastal pine forest and farms and converting them into intertidal marshes. That was in 1960. So we've seen this before. We'll see it again. And then they talked about the one example, the 9.1 earthquake off the coast of Japan back in 2011, which caused the land to sink about 3 feet. So obviously, guys, with earthquakes over 9 on a Richter scale or magnitude 9, they're going to see land sinkage. Is to move them. That's the, and again, you're not going to get people to move. That's the bigger problem. You're not going to get these people to move at all. So to prepare them for an earthquake, that doesn't make sense to me. That doesn't make sense. And you're telling people, listen, all right, you guys are going to prepare for something you can't prepare for, but we're going to tell you that you can prepare for it, but you're probably going to die. But prepare anyway. But you'll be dead after you prepare. Don't make any sense. A 6-foot drop with 50 to 80 feet of water with 10 minutes of warning? How the fuck are you going to get out of there? If you're in that land drop as the tsunami's coming in, how are you going to get... how many ladders could they put up? And it might be... And the thing is, 6 feet, guys, is an estimate. It could be 8. It could be 20-foot drop. It could be 3. And they don't know. So it's just a shit show. Whatever happens to California in regards to this, or rather the West Coast, is undoubtedly going to screw them up. And a lot of people are going to pass away. A lot. There's no saving these people. I don't understand why they're sitting there talking about, we can prepare for this. You can't prepare for shit. There are some things, guys, suffice it to say, you cannot prepare for, and that is one of them. It just is what it is. Anyway, with that, guys, we're going to go off the air now. We're going to head over to the Angry Truths channel. We're going to talk about being tempted by evil. There's a lot to talk about because there's a lot of shit going on, and I am watching some bizarre shit go down. Other than that, guys, thank you for joining me tonight. I appreciate it as always. It looks like the Rumble channel thing worked out. So I'll try to keep that going for the foreseeable future or until Rumble goes belly up, whatever happens next. Other than that, guys, good night.